The creator of all things.
A spirit that's beyond our perception.
He spreads his praise across to me. He brings everything good.
He isn't the spawn or product of something else. He is unique. He's the starting point.
Hi, my name's Lily, and do you believe in God? Look, kind of a loaded question, but it's not that uncommon of a question. From your neighbor to the great minds of Kant and Pascal, people have been pondering this forever. Is there a creator? What kind of creator? How many creators? Maybe we're just here on our own. Well, we're going to talk about some of the greatest minds that theorized about this, and some of those greatest minds at SSC and some other cool places that we found. We want to share these interviews with you and hopefully get you thinking about, who is God? What is God? Is there a God?
One of Descartes' arguments for the existence of God is that the idea of God is inborn for us to believe in God. Just like our understanding of mathematical concepts, how we know that 2 + 2 is 4. We all understand, and we all understand those mathematical concepts. Same thing with shapes, same thing with colors. So these types of things is not learned through experience, but natural for our understanding. So it's natural for us to understand that 2 + 2 = 4 because we need those things to go about our daily lives.
If he is the creator, then he, for example, cannot be bound by that which he created. And time is one of the best examples of that. He has to be outside of time to be able to create time. And then also he cannot be bound by time itself as well. Otherwise, he's not God. So I do believe he exists, and I think those are the reasons why.
When we think of this immersive, all-powerful God, we have to think about how an all-powerful God, like the God that we were talking about, could exist by his own power. So this God that is all-powerful can exist by his own power. So Descartes came up with the point that something that exists on its own must always exist. So what he's saying is that God must have always existed from the beginning because he is an all-powerful God and he's able to exist on his own power because he is so powerful.
Is there a God?
I don't know.
Just tell me.
I would if I could, but I don't know. Neither does anybody else.
Roberta knows.
No. Roberta has faith. And that's a great thing to have, but faith's about what you think, feel, not what you know.
Blaise Pascal thought that believing in God was kind of like making a bet, and God was the better bet. Why did he think this? Well, he thought that God and believing in some kind of higher power was innate and necessary to human happiness. He also believed that, say God isn't real, say God is real, it's a lot better to not risk eternal damnation if he is real. So, Pascal also believed that religion held society together and created communities that nothing else could create. So, who cares if it's not real?
If there's a way to understand the existence of something like that, I don't know that humans are capable of it. That's sort of ineffable, inscrutable. That's what faith is understanding something that's unknowable, but believing in it. So yeah, it'd be hard to rationalize the existence of something like that, other than just to say, I think it was there before us and it will be there after us.
In earlier times in history, especially such as the church back during medieval times, it helped to increase their influence. It helped them to get power. But in terms of religion without that type of thing, it definitely can be useful for helping people live their lives without being as anxious as they would be if they didn't believe in something like that.
For it to be truly a philosophical way to look at it, we need to dig a little deeper. And, when you dig a little deeper in a subject like God, it can get heated really easily. So I'm going to try to stick to facts and keep the theology out of it. For me, this guy, Ansel of Canterbury, he was an 11th century monk and philosopher. I think he summed it up really well in simply saying that which is greater than can be considered. So that which is greater than can be considered, well, in his philosophy on that, he kind of says like, okay, what's better than the best? The best thing you can think of, like I can think of like the best pizza in the world, the best, food or sports or whatever it is, and that makes it the best. So then if that actually can be not just in my mind, but be in front of me, that's all the more better. So, that becomes problematic for a lot of reasons. We could apply that same concept to anything. Like if I love, rock music, or I love, banjo playing or whatever else. So if it can exist in my mind, unicorns can exist in my mind. That doesn't mean that that's evidence one way or the other.
Some people say like they need that to live, and that's perfectly fine, but I've had like those moments of like happiness, like fulfillment in life without like God or religion. So I was like, again, go back to the agnostic thing. I'm like, if I die one day and like there's like a God, and I'm like, well, I got that wrong, but I don't feel like I haven't felt like I need that like in my life to get by.
Iconography is interesting, but I don't think it's realistic. So yeah, I would not put it as an actual. Same thing with evil. Like evil is more. I always used to teach this story from Thoreau that said the fiend in his own shape is less hideous than when he rages in the breast of a man. So I feel the same way with that like there can't be a physical form. It's got to be this dimensional thing.
So who was right? I mean, about all of this.
Well, let's see. Hindus are a little bit right, Muslims a little bit, Jews, Christians, Buddhists, every religion guessed about 5%.
Yes, the argument can be made all day long that, a God or belief in a God can benefit a society in many ways as far as, keeping ethics. It's been shown in, health classes that people with the religion, with the faith have, better blood pressure. All of these things still, as wonderful as they are, they can't get at the heart of it and say like, to prove something without a doubt, you need to be able to prove, cause and effect. So, people say, oh, well, I had an encounter with God. I myself understand that encounter with God. There again, I lived my life, righteous and, righteous mindset with doing all, wanting to do and rule the world for Jesus. But that became problematic when I'm volunteering at places like rehabs, city jails, things like that. That again is like an esoteric God. You're just a God that a certain amount of people can understand. But if you look globally, to say just what you believe, what you were taught is right, is the way it is, there again, that's some egocentric stuff that really doesn't work in a class like this.
It's the lack of purpose that gives me purpose, because I get to build my own. People have said that they've talked to him, that they've had these revelations, that they've had these moments of understanding. I feel God, I've seen him, I've heard him. But there's also so much complexity to just the human mind, let alone everything else around it, that makes those statements never able to fully be trusted.
All right, I know it seems like a lot, and I promise we're getting to the end. But today we got to discuss a lot of beautiful angles and significant angles on the existence of God and whether we're ever going to be able to prove it from a lot of beautiful people. And although we started with the question, does God exist? Is there a God? How can we prove there's a God? Sadly, I think this one is going to come to the conclusion is that we're never going to know what's out there. From the greatest minds in history contemplating this very thing, sadly, I think we're not going to have an answer. But that's not the end, and we want to hear from you guys. Do you believe in God?